Welcome, ghouls, ghoulettes, and guesties to GonstFM Off Air, the official podcast companion to 66.6 GonstFM, the internet radio station dedicated to the band Ghost and the wider Gonst community. I'm Papa X.
And I'm Uncle Ghoul.
And today we are kicking off our Which Images series, in which we are exploring the music videos of the band Ghost in chronological order. And today we are kicking this series off with Secular Haze, aka Late Night with the Devil, the Lost Tapes. Because, dude, this, I swear to God.
It's really the best way you can describe it.
Yeah, it's true, though, because if anybody out there has seen the movie Late Night with the Devil, you'll understand that reference, much like Captain America understood a reference that one time on the airship in Avengers. Anyway, this video looks exactly like it's straight out of the 1970s, which is when that film took place, and so much so that I know the director, which this was directed by Amir Chamdin, they went so far as to use like actual authentic cameras from that period for this.
It's so cool because it gives that immediate like nostalgia to like Top of the Pops or like Ed Sullivan Show or any of those, you know, Dick Clark TV shows that you would watch. And it's something so cool like the Midnight Special. It's such a like iconic part of music at the time. And when Ghost wanting to present themselves in that time is such a kind of throwback band. I think it's really cool to see that aesthetic and that old gear, and it just there's something so authentic about it. You know, a lot of people try and get that look digitally, and it never has that textured, warmth feel to that we get in this video. That adds this like kind of degree of comfort to it, while also being so unsettling. You know, it's like nostalgia, warmness, but also the visuals are so unsettling that it's kind of a cool juxtaposition, like Ghost music being, you know, a juxtaposition of sweet and dark imagery, you know?
Yeah. And then the funny part about this is also the comedy that's injected in there by way of the actual like director of photography and the cinematography of it all, where there's like these really shitty like camera bumps and like, oh, zoom in, wait, nope, zoom more. And like, it's not like entirely smooth, you know, like they'll zoom in and then the camera's like just tilting like off center,
or it'll really quickly pan, you know, like it's just like someone you can see a bunch of like cocaine fueled execs in the studio trying to like film like a 70s, you know what I mean? Like just running around with their coffee cups trying to one-handed do this, you know, you can just imagine that. It adds so much to this vibe.
And the lighting too, like you were mentioning the digital thing, people trying to achieve that digitally. This is, you know, shot on film, and it's shot in the aspect ratio in which it would be in the 1970s as well. And the lighting has everything to do with this too, because the backdrop is colored in such a way that when the studio lights hit red or purple, those are the types of like Technicolor, you know what I mean? Like, oh, let's put all these like vibrant colors out there. And then you had like the beige, like, you know, little stage riser pieces where, you know, the ghouls are sitting atop the little A-frame pillars in the back, the candles and the fog and everything. It's cool because it is like that late night TV show vibe, but also this looks like maybe they're performing for their little cult gathering. You know?
Yeah, there's something really cool about it because it does, in my opinion, capture what Ghost was like live at that time really well. Because I think that we're so used to the bombast of Ghost now that we forget that it really was just them on a stage with some stained glass, some lights and some smoke, and that's all there is. You know, they really let the music and just the imagery do the talking at that time as opposed to theatrical moments. And this video does a great job of showing just how stripped down and retro Ghost was. Like, it was almost kind of a mundane thing for them to go on stage in these robes and these costumes. It was just what they always wore. You know, it wasn't a theatrical moment to wear, you know, these robes. It was just how they were. And just seeing them in kind of a mundane setting like this adds so much, you know?
Yeah. And Papa 2, in my opinion, of course, I don't think he's ever looked scarier than he does in this video, honestly, like with the way that he's peering into the camera and the way that the shadows are working. You don't even see his eyes some of the times. It looks like an actual skull, you know, sitting, it's just sitting in this robe in the mitre. And it's just like, dude, all this shit happening. And then the ghouls are so well lit that it just looks like really, except for when you can see their hands, obviously, but like when they're lit in the shadows in the back, it really does look like supernatural figures back there doing this stuff.
The simplicity works so well in its favor, you know?
Yeah.
Like the simplicity of all these, and that's the thing that I love about this era and these costumes. We talked a little bit about when we did the series on the costumes and masks, which you can check out, but the simplicity works beautifully for what they're going for. There's no overstimulation of visual. It just, this is a masterclass in using simple, effective costumes on a budget and simple props to your advantage, which is something that Ghost in those early eras did so well, is use limitations they had to visual advantages. That's why I say you could never recreate this. The reason that this all worked so well is because they didn't have the budget to do more, so they had to really think outside the box on how to make everything so visually appealing and use of that space,
Yeah,
and
make
what
it
they
count.
had. Yep.
One location, one set of costumes, one group of musical instruments, and a fog machine and some lights and a really great director, actually. And, that's your secular Haze video. It's fucking great. And it's crazy that this is the first music video from them, right? Like, You've had Opus Eponymous and you had Elizabeth, which was, it was the single, I'm putting air quotes, it was the single from that album. And the only real, quote, video, and I'm saying again, air quote, video that we had was, there was maybe a little over a minute, maybe a less than a minute long quote video of Ritual. And it was just on MySpace for an advertisement. It was just something that they put online for just an advertisement for the first album. And probably people maybe out there asking like, well, why didn't we talk about, that one? Or like, why are we glossing over it? It's like, cause it was just a promo video. It wasn't like technically a music video. It was just something that they did to advertise for that record. And it's crazy how like Ghost had almost the Metallica syndrome with this, where like Metallica's first video didn't come until their fourth fucking album, but this was not their fourth album, but it was still like after their first album.
Yeah, and what a perfect video to start an introduction to so many people to the band. And I hear that all the time, like for myself included. That was my first introduction ever to seeing Ghost, was my local record store sharing, hey, new single from Ghost, this band from Sweden, here is Secular Haze. And I clicked it and I was hooked immediately. And, I pre-ordered the new album immediately that was coming out, because that imagery just immediately sold me. It doesn't need to do anything more than it does. And as we talk more about videos in the series, they'll get more and more in depth with storylines and, big visual things. But this is just a performance video. A good old-fashioned performance video, and it does a perfect job of selling you of exactly what you're going to see if you buy a ticket to see them live.
Right. Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah. I don't think there is anything, and even so, they go back to that kind of style with Spillways, where it's just kind of a more good old, and I think even in the post when they launched it, they said like, it's been too long since we've done a good old-fashioned, performance video just of us rocking out.
Yeah, and we'll get into that when we get into it, but funny enough, Amir Chamdin did that video as well.
Exactly, and I think it might have been a purposeful thing of this. That's one thing that he does really well as a director with Ghost, is if you watch a lot of the videos that he's done, and we'll get into it, but he's done a lot for them. And the ones that he's done, he always does them, there's always a significant performance video. These are not the ones of like the Meliora cycle where we don't really see a performance of the band very much, but the ones that he has done have always his strength to me. And even so, he's, for those who don't know, working as creative director for the Skeletor that they're on currently this cycle. So he works so well with a band, directing a band in a live setting of what a band in their prime performing is, and does a great job of being able to capture that and all the blocking and everything and how a band should be presented. And it shows so well in this video of capturing, okay, this is, I imagine they come in with their idea of what they already do. And he says, how can I accentuate what you already do live, and make that palatable for the camera? And it works.
Yeah, because there's a shot probably, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds into the video, like it's around that mark, like maybe 30 seconds in or a little bit after that. There's just like a rolling like dolly shot of them playing, and then it cuts, a quick zoom to one and a quick zoom to another set of ghouls, and then it hits the fog, and then Papa is like walking backwards into frame. It's really neat because he's setting up, if this is somebody's first time watching this, you know what I'm saying? Like, here's this cool band playing. What could their singer possibly look like? And then you see this fog and you're like, oh, he's going to come out from the back. Like, no, the dude is creeping out from behind the camera. Like, and it's ominous looking because he's very dark lit. Papa 2 is very dark lit right here. And then when he comes out, it's just this skeleton man, like I'm totally like Spirit Halloween naming Papa right now. Sorry, Papa. it's the skeleton bishop.
I literally was there the other day, and they have the skeleton bishop costume, and it's like, it is literally Papa. Like, it's inverted crosses on a robe, like a black. It's Papa 1's robes essentially, but with like a skeleton face and like a invert. It's like, it's Papa.
Skeleton Bishop
really
is
funny.
awesome. Dude, fun fact, everybody out there, if you're just now listening to GonstFM, if this is your first episode of GonstFM Off Air and you're listening to this on YouTube, I promise this is going somewhere. Scroll all the way back to the very first episode, What is GonstFM? You will see Skeleton Bishop 1 and Skeleton Bishop 2 as the thumbnail footage.
That's true, yeah.
Because I was sitting there just like, well, I can't use Papa. Like at the time, I was like, I got to be silly, but I was like, I can't use Papa for my first one. I got to use something really fucking stupid. What's really fucking stupid? Skeleton Bishop.
Beautiful.
But yeah, it's a great setup to introduce this band to put at the time, obviously, to potentially a whole wide array of people.
It's such a cool one, and I think it should be an essential viewing for anyone. And I've heard a lot of times in recent times people aren't a big fan of the song. I disagree. I think it's one of their best songs.
Same.
But that's fine, but I think that even if you don't love the song, give the video a chance because it's so good. And one thing that I think that we don't talk about enough as a fandom with Ghost is their use of fog as a vessel. And as a storytelling device. There used to be an interview, I don't know if it's still up, where it was a very early era interview where they kind of inferred that the fog was the reasoning for everyone in the band being under some type of possession, and that the fog had some type of effect on them. A manifestation of the unholy ghost was this fog. And I love the ideas of that, of the fog being always accompanying the band and being the presence of, Satan or the evil, is this fog that you always see. Because throughout later tours where Papa would emerge from the fog as his entrance, in the Meliora cycle, or, the fog jets that they have, the CO2 jets on tour, like they always use fog effects so well in videos on tour. And this video really sets up it being something you can't imagine Ghost without fog effects, like the spooky rolling low-lying fog and, billowing fog that Papa flows through. It all gets set up here.
Yeah, and then like the smoke from the incense, like all that to me, like is all like one thing in my mind, When I see the fog coming out, I imagine like the scent, you know what I mean? Like I think that's such a cool thing of like how you mentioned the fog being that element to them, because it's true. Like if you go look at any live performance, like when the curtain drops, like on the most recent tour, hell, even Imperator, like they'd already had the stage filled with smoke.
Yep. And you can see, like from where I was right up in the pit, you could see the fog slowly seeping through the cracks in the curtain, and through underneath. And it was just kind of like the presence of, when you see that fog, that it's going to start any moment now. Once that fog starts to overflow, it's like it can't contain behind that curtain, the barrier. It's so cool.
The fog weaver has worked his magic.
He has. But Ghost does a great use of this always, whether it's the sound of like a low rumbling before Papa comes on stage, or they do often, or the fog, or just simple as in this video shows, the red lighting, or backlighting, all these simple things that are old theater tricks from way back in the day, nothing new, but they use it to their advantage so well without having a huge budget. These simple things, a couple fog machines, and probably some floodlights, overhead lighting, can really set the mood. And when I watch this video, I just get this vibe of like watching something you shouldn't, it's like watching an old VHS tape that you found that wasn't supposed to be released because it's cursed, it's like, it's that vibe. It legitimately, that's the thing about this video. It legitimately feels like from that time. If you had told me, there's no giveaways that this is a modern video or it was made in the year it was made, right? I'm sure you can find some if you're a real nerd over it, but it feels so authentic.
That's the best way to describe it. The type of camera they were using, the literal film stock they were using, the lighting, the set design, it's very minimalistic. It didn't need to be elaborate. Once again, simple. Sometimes less is more, and in this case, less was way more. Dude, something that you pointed out that I had seen the other day, I want to talk about briefly. It's just fucking hysterical. Is it's funny when you go onto YouTube and you look at videos and then you see like the comment section and people still keep commenting, even all these years later. As of like 2 years ago, a user by the name of Christian Hag, Haag, commented, I'm literally reading this verbatim. It says, haha, I haven't seen this video since we made it 10 years ago. Just looked it up now to show my girlfriend. Feels awesome to read the comments about the look. I'm the cameraman who made it look so shoddy. Our idea the whole time was to make it look like some lost footage from a crappy TV show in the 70s. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely. You would believe it. You know, God, why can't I think of, hold on. I'm doing this on the fly, trying to remember what show that I'm thinking of. Oh, the Paul Lynde Halloween special and Kiss performing Detroit Rock City on that.
Oh, shit, man. Yeah.
And just, that's what it reminds me of, 1976. Yeah. It gives me that same vibe of like, as if like this was the moment of this, crazy theatrical band coming on and performing on this TV show, and then it becoming like, lost media or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
It makes sense though, because if you think about all the stuff that we talked about when we reviewed this album in particular, and then just in our conversation with Niels a couple weeks ago, talking about how like some of the sounds they were going for were from the 70s. So it makes all the sense in the world that the music video for it would give that time frame.
Well, even the promotion from the cycles, if you watch Propaganda and, the Ghoul talks about, we want this to be a record that you put it on, like, a record you missed out on from back in the day, and you put it on and you hear the sizzling of the record player and it starts, just that old school retro sound. Also, I could be wrong on this, but I believe that this video is it is the first debut of the iconic now white and black guitars, right?
Yes.
Where they had gotten, because around, I think Martin said on his Instagram that it was 2012, they got the deal to do the RDs, which started a trend that they still use now of the one white guitar and black guitar. And the first time that I'm sure a lot of people even noticed that being a thing was around this time, before they were still using just, some SGs and other things and guitars throughout the Opus cycle. But Infest really starts the beginning of that iconic imagery of one guitar being white, one being black, to differentiate two rules,
Yeah, because they did record this with one of those triple humbucker SG Les Paul cutaways when they were making Infestissumam. They did it on that and like orange amplifiers and shit.
Which is that sound, man. There's such a sound to that, like, and a vibe. And I miss, seeing those orange amps on stage,
Yeah.
It's just such a vibe to it. It's so uniquely like 60s feeling to me and 70s. Like when I think of those amps, I think of like British rock from the 70s. But I love seeing kind of the start of like something that is in every video going forward, when we see the band, is we see them with those black and white guitars, and it really starts here.
Yeah, and if anybody out there listening, Anthony, I'm going to plug this for you. Go to Anthony's social medias at News from the Clergy on TikTok or Anthony Daily Music on Instagram, and check out the video essay he did on this particular guitar model, the Gibson RD, because holy shit, dude, Gibson Research and Development is like the actual full name of the guitar. What a fucking guitar, man. And that's what they wound up modeling the Hagstrom guitars after. Yeah. Although I will say, if I could afford the Gibson one, I would get the Gibson one just to say that I had one. Like, holy shit.
Well, what's funny is Gibson, like, not to go on a tangent here, but they just released the custom shop one, which is like $7,000, but you can get a legitimate 2010 one. Sometimes there was one on Guitar Center for like just under $2,000, like a legitimate one, or you can even find like vintage 70s ones for like around $2,000 to $3,000. So like, I don't know why anyone would buy the brand new 2025 USA custom shop when you can buy original 70s vintage one for less. Or if you want to put work into it, you could probably get it for like $1,200.
It's probably made better too, though, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, that's my dream guitar, like, for the record. So if anyone out there, finds one, a good deal on a vintage, Gibson Research and Development model, Gibson RD, let me know. Yeah, I want one.
Tag the podcast and tag all of our socials in it, so at least one of us sees it. Like, dude, go get it.
If you're ever on Reverb, let
dude,
us know.
What a website! I love Reverb. My God,
it really is.
My poor bank account.
But honestly, speaking of it, like those RD guitars versus the Phantomans have a much more classic look. Just being the Gibson and like it just being those are guitars from late 70s. Like you can't get those were mainly made in the 70s. By the 80s, they were slowing down in production on those. So it is so period accurate too. All the gear being used here in this video is pretty period accurate, I would believe, Yeah,
that Gibson P bass, the Vistalite drum kits, because Bonham was using Vistalite kits in the 70s. And it's
I don't know exactly what organ that is, that's being used, but I'm sure it looks like a Rhodes maybe, or something like, and it's that around that time period. And that's something that adds such a cool factor to that, is that period accurate, it sells the illusion in every single way, man. And I love just the lighting choices of the lights coming up in the beginning and that kind of purplish backdrop. It looks like that come and the lights fade in and out on that with the archways in the back. It's like such a visually pleasing video to watch. And if anyone hasn't seen it out there, go watch this video. Like I can't help but think it's a very underrated video in the catalog because either people don't like the song or they just don't know that this video exists, because like it has a good amount of views on it. But in comparison, I don't ever hear people talk about it that much, as their favorite video. And I think it's such a good video to introduce people to the band. Even now.
Yeah, it's got like 18 million hits on it, like as of this recording.
That's good. But compare that to like Lacrima.
Oh yeah, I know. Like it's crazy to think
so
that.
It's, or I would actually have to look because I don't know, but I have to imagine that in the grand scheme of videos off of these albums, it doesn't get the love that it deserves. But even if it does, I don't feel like hear people talk about it as much. Oh yeah, because compared to Year Zero with 24 million, obviously that's the bigger video on that cycle. But I don't know. I feel like the people need to watch Secular Haze and talk about it more.
Yeah, and they definitely will, because if you scroll up right now to our show notes below, there will be a link to the Secular Haze video from Ghost. Watch it on repeat. I'm not kidding when I say that I have had this video on a loop off to the side, just eyeballing it, because it's fun. To me, it's something that I could literally put on in the background, even if there was no sound, because I know the music. If it was just on my television in the background, it's visually pleasing, like you mentioned earlier. It has that real cozy kind of like feeling. Like the Secular Haze video to me is a very big comfort watch, because it speaks to that weird, quirky shit that I'm into with as far as like analog horror and stuff like that. Like that's the vibes that it gives me.
Even like lost media searches, like this looks like this was the end find of a lost media search of an old TV show,
Yeah.
And it's so cool, dude. And the other thing about this video is just like, I feel like this could be an ad for like action figures. Like there's not a moment where at any point does this not feel like an ad for like Remco action figures. Like it could come up on screen and be like, there's so many posable moments of all of these. Like it's such a night. You could frame any moment in this video and have it be an iconic shot.
Yes. In fact, one of those freeze frames is the cover art for this episode.
And we were talking about it because we were like, there's an obvious choice that everyone goes with, but there's so many other choices in this video,
Yes.
that you could pick any moment and see. Also, it's just kind of nice to be a time capsule of like this band at the time and who was in it. And like, I've spoken about my love of that particular drummer and his setup, and seeing it there and just having it captured on video, which I don't think we really see it much again. Well, yeah, we see it for Year Zero, but which we'll talk about soon.
Yeah.
But, I do love seeing just like that lineup, because it's the first lineup I saw live, and I have a lot of nostalgia for that particular setup, stage setup and everything. And so it's just cool to see this time capsule of the band really starting to first be thrust into American audiences, going on these tours with Avenged Sevenfold and all these bands and Iron Maiden, and, supporting all these dates and doing all this stuff at this time, and really starting to really kick up their career at this time. And it's really awesome to see this video that was probably sent out as promo.
Yeah. And holy shit, the places this band will go.
It's so nice to go back to the, humble origins and appreciate it, because it's one thing that Ghost does great too, is just come out swinging. They came out with a perfect debut album, and their first music video is also perfect. Like it's not even to where it's like, oh, it's good, but it could be better if they had more money. You really don't want to change anything about this. I don't want to funnel more money into this video and have it be, bigger budget. Like it works because of how it is.
You wind up not appreciating the later videos if you don't start here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We will continue on to Year Zero and Monsters Clock. We are going in chronological order. And we say this because like once we get around to the Meliora Popestar cycle, you'll understand what we mean, because that's a little ass backwards once we get there. But and then even further down is a little ass backwards. However, it all congeals quite nicely. Like when
it does, yeah.
I love this video. I don't ever get tired of it. It's one that I will constantly go back to rewatch just for the aesthetic, if anything else. I like the song. I love Infestusumam. But to go from Secular Haze to Year Zero, which will be next week's episode, same director, Amir Chamdin, had come back and done the Year Zero video. And again, we'll get into it more in depth, but wow, that at the time, and still to this day, in a lot of ways, it was a pretty controversial video. For past, present, and future episodes of GonstFM Off Air, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. You can leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave us a rating and leave comments on individual episodes on Spotify. And if you're listening to this episode on our YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to the channel, clicking the bell for notifications for future episodes, leaving a like on the video, or leaving a comment down below. Any engagement helps. If you would like to come to a future GonstFM Station Head radio ritual, if you would like to buy GonstFM or Uncle Ghoul merchandise, or if you would like to join either of the groups Ghost Cosplay or the official GonstFM Facebook group GonstFam, all of this information can be found in our Linktree link in the show notes below. And so, our dearest Gonslings, that brings this week's episode to a close. Some of you we will see in Internet Land, and the rest of you we will see in GonstFam. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember, until next time, in Gonst, we Tronst. I'm Papa X.
And I'm Uncle Ghoul.
And we'll see you next time.